Hello guys, welcome back to Dunking Monkey. Today I am going to make a review on all tier list made in Taiwan since release. Are the tier lists similar to global? Which characters were once so overpowered that they had to nerf them to the ground before global release? You can also take a look at which characters have the longevity and take reference to decide who to invest. Now let's jump straight into the video. We will skip S1 and S2 since I cannot find the tier lists. This is S3 tier list in Taiwan. In this tier list you can see pre-nerf T-Mac and Dirk in TO, pre-buff KD in T3, and surprisingly CP3 in T1. Pre-nerf Dirk was unstoppable. His post-ups were easier to get bumped. His drives were way faster than now. His ultimate can hit heavily contested shots. He was the best scorer behind T-Mac. T-Mac shared a similar case with Noitsuki. You think Ska and Wade is unguardable. They are babies compared to pre-nerf T-Mac. His drives were once so quick that even Lebron with speed boosts cannot contest a single shot. Global players will never feel how traumatic T-Mac was. Therefore, in order to contest T-Mac, Chinese players used their big brain. They used Chris Paul, who is the fastest player in the game, to contest T-Mac. They found out that the effectiveness is better than Lebron and Tatum, and they gave this defending technique to Taiwan players. And that is why Chris Paul ranks at T1 in this meta. Pre-buff KD stands at T3. His crossovers were slower, and he cannot cross behind the three-point line. He only can create space in mid-range area. The only way to score three-pointers were catch and shoots. Then you can see AD was at TO because of T-Mac and Dirk. AD is the only center that can help defense and run back to the rim in time. Koei was TA in S2 but he couldn't guard neither T-Mac or Dirk effectively. He dropped a bit to T1. In contrast, Lebron was at T1 since he was the best Dirk Nowitzki counter. Moving on to S4, Olajuwon and Brown launched to Taiwan. Similar to global in a few days, Olajuwon undoubtedly became the best center. We didn't have Gasol at that time, and Olajuwon didn't have real competitors. As for T-Mac received his first nerf. His drives were slightly slower, which is more guardable now. That is the reason why Chris Paul and AD dropped, cause their value is not as huge now. Nowitzki also received a nerf. His drives were slower. Brown became the best counter to T-Mac, since he not only perfectly locks T-Mac, you can also play ISO ball with him. Because of the nerf of T-Mac, Harden and Curry is now more playable. Both of them also received their buffs, but both are also countered by Brown. Brown remains as the best defender in that meta. Now let's hop into S5. This meta they added Gasol, Ray Allen, and Brook Lopez. Gasol quickly became the best spacing center and tries to take the king of centers crown from Olajuwon. People expected Ray Allen to be T-Mac to .0 from his talent previews. It turns out that he is only an off-ball scorer, and people was not expecting this from the previews. Taiwan players at that time find him strong only when he is paired with Jokic and Curry. Problem is Curry was banned very often, therefore Allen usage is not high. Brook Lopez is the current Lopez, lacks too much defense. The biggest change you can see here is T-Mac disappeared while KD and Dirk crawled back to T1. T-Mac received the biggest nerf in the game, which is now the current T-Mac. He is slow and his ultimate no longer hit contested shots when the team is leading. KD received probably the biggest buff in the game history too. He is now the current KD who can score behind the three-point line, and his crossovers are way quicker. Dirk had faster shot release and his ultimate is harder to block now. He is the current Dirk Nowitzki in global. AD now dropped to T3 cause his dash now only dash towards PF and C. He used to dash towards every position. Curry gone up to TO cause of Ray Allen. Curry-Allen duo was one of the most unstoppable lineups at that time. Adebayo was at T1. According to Bear Bro, he said Adebayo was the best counter to Curry-Allen lineup at that time. Another notable change is Giannis sitting at TO. Giannis received a buff on his ultimate and his dunking speed. His ultimate lasts longer and he runs quick too. He was another solution to Curry-Allen lineup. Curry dropped to T2 cause he cannot effectively guard Curry and Ray Allen lineup. This meter many players received big buffs. Players at that time were unfamiliar with newly buffed players. Therefore some players this meter is overrated compared to tier lists in global. Moving into S6, they added Rodman Prime Droz. Rodman stands at T1 at that time and was a top 3 center. However, he was behind Gasol and Hakeem. Since he is only good at rebounding, his rim protection is basically zero, and offensively he cannot do much. For Prime Droz, despite being a newly released character, TAIWAN players don't find hard to guard him. His scoring was inconsistent compared to other scorers. His accuracy is mid, and he cannot switch modes instantly, like Tatum. Players can choose how to guard him, depending on which mode he is in. Ray Allen's supposed to be in T2. Bear Bro's reason putting Ray Allen in T1 is because he likes playing Ray Allen. Butler started to climb up to T1 because players discovered how to play Iso Butler. Curry rockets to TO. He counters everything except spacing lineup and Curry Allen lineup, and the usage of Curry Allen lineup and spacing lineup is not that high yet. Curry was and still is the best general defender. Giannis dropped to tail of T1 since his rebound is too weak to compete against Rodman. Lavini received a buff. He jumped from unplayable to T2. His dunks were faster and Rodman, as one of the main centers, was not a very good counter to it. JJJ and Paul Pierce was added to the game. If you think current JJJ has insane blocking range, pre-nerf JJJ was way more crazy. He was blocking jump shots 3 meters away from you. Jay at that time was the best defender, no doubt, and Paul Pierce was special at that time. He was the only scorer with a defensive ability. He has a dash on defense, and offensively he has 2 modes. The mechanics are similar to Droz, but they are harder to guard. By the way, in case you didn't realize, T-Mac is in the unplayable rank now. This meter is about defensive ISO lineups and Curry Ray Allen lineups. You don't see spacing centers like Gasol on T1 here. Only Jason Kidd is added to this meter, and the addition of Kidd reset the environment in TAIWAN. Because of Kidd's passing, trio scorers like Luka and Allen crawled up the list. Another reason is that Kidd cannot limit Allen, Curry and Luka effectively as a defender. Curry and Allen needs mass rotations to defend, and Luka screens need a center to block. None of that is something Kidd is good at, since his defense are heavily based on double teams. Then why is Kidd TO at this point? Like I mentioned earlier, last TAIWAN meter was in a defensive meter. Spacing are tight that Kidd can easily double team to guard. It greatly limits main scorers last meter, like Pierce. JJJ dropped to T2. He is now the current JJJ, and he does not excels at guarding who this meter. Tatum finally crawled up to T1 after being at T2 since S3. Reason is simple, he can limit the TO scorers. Rodman dropped cause he cannot limit T0 scorers. Ben Wallace was added along with Jordan Clarkson. Clarkson's situation in TAIWAN is the same in global. For Ben, he was and is the best defensive center. His defense greatly limits ISO lineups. He also perfectly counters Olajuwon pump fakes, since he can jump twice in a row. And that is why Olajuwon dropped to T2. Gasol and Luka dropped to T2 too. Their pick and roll lineup also perfectly got countered by Ben. Spacing lineups in TAIWAN was not used a lot. We didn't have a good scorer for spacing lineups yet. This also explains why AD's tier was not high until the release of Sky and Glade. If I somehow forgot to explain why AD is so low, with Ben Wallace added, TAIWAN now focuses on defense more. Paul Pierce, who was the only scorer with a defensive ability, became the meter scorer again. People used him in pure defensive lockdown lineups. Brown dropped to T2 since he cannot effectively guard Pierce. He is more used to guard Harden or Kiri. JJJ dropped to T3 because of the absence of spacing lineups. He was only used to defend dunking lineups. Now we are in S7. Ska was added. In this meter people are still pursuing defense. Paul Pierce was ranked higher than Ska. Since Wallace and Pierce was the ones getting banned, the usage of Curry increased, resulting in the increased usage of Curry Allen lineup. Because Ska got released, Brown got back to T1 as an effective counter. Despite still in a defensive lineup meter, spacing lineup gradually became popular with Ska. AD finally hopped back to T1. Dwayne got added to TAIWAN, alongside with 2 other WCBA stars, and Dylan Brooks. This is pre-nerf Dwayne. Pre-nerf Dwayne has insane 3-point accuracy. He barely misses. Honsu, a Dukba center, was basically a better Gasol and stands at T1. The release of Honsu and Wade made spacing lineup the most popular lineup in this meta. Ska, another good scorer for spacing lineup, climbed to the best of T0. Paul Pierce, who can only play in ESO lineups, dropped to the tail of T1. With the release of Ska and Dwayne, Pierce is no longer the only scorer with defensive abilities. And with main scorers having defensive abilities, off-ball shooters like Curry and Allen found it hard to score. Their tier dropped. KD and Dirk's tier quietly drops down, even after their buff, since players now can easily lock them up. Dylan Brooks lands at T3 since there are way better alternatives, including Fuzi, Kawi and Kid. Like I mentioned previously, Kid is not a good counter to spacing lineups. His double team threat cannot be triggered, and thus he dropped to T2. And JJJ, being the best counter to Dwayne, is now back on being one of the best defenders. Finally moving on to the current Lebron patch meter. They first added Karl Malone, then Prime Lebron, Holly and Draymond was added into the game. Karl Malone was the best offensive spacing center. Despite cannot shoot 3 south, he doesn't miss open mid-range shot like Olajuwon. This makes opponents have to stick onto him, or else it is going to be free points every possession. Prime Bron, I don't think I have to explain. You can watch my Prime Lebron video showcase. Despite his contest zone shrink after step back got reduced, he still undeniably is the best scorer in the game. Haliburton was a new scorer. People were saying he is better Ska, but now after a month, after people familiarize with his moves, I personally think he drops to the tail of T1. Draymond is at the middle of T2. He is only good paired with Curry. This meter also added to SBA stars Guo Allen and Eugene Leon. Guo Allen lands at T2. He is the best baseline ESO player, but it takes skills to master, and the scoring efficiency is not as high as the Lebron T1 scorers. Eugene Leon is basically another Brook Lopez. He lands at T3. Paul Pierce dropped to T2. He got replaced by Prime Lebron. Lebron can play in pure defensive lineups too. He dropped to T3. He cannot limit any main scorers this meter, and he is bad against spacing lineups. Alonzo Mourning was added to TAIWAN recently. He is not here in this tier list, but he only lands at T2. Since he only got dunks, he can only stick to traditional ESO lineups. His defense is mid, low movement speed. His perfect block, which adds the block success rate. The timing is so hard to time that it barely happens. The same issues goes with perfect rebound, which increases his rebound competitiveness. And that is the end of today's video. You can see that these tier list changes mainly is a chain effect. When a strong player joins the game, a certain lineup gets popular. Players who can adapt the lineup climbs the list. Players who cannot will drop. Before video ends, I want to promote my Discord. You can chat, share highlights, suggest contents, ask questions and find trio teammates. I might forget what content you suggested if you told me under a YouTube comment, since I won't go back to check, but I will always hop on Discord to check what content's suggested. Okay, bye bye.